I kept every piece of guilt I was ever handed. I held it. I turned it over. I made it mine. And I kept the ones I made myself, too. That is the part I did not understand until it was far too late to fix. My name is Margaret Elspeth Crane. I was born in 1842, outside of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, in a house that was too small for the people inside it. My father worked the land and the mill both. My mother bore 8 children, 5 of whom lived past the age of 3. We were not poor in the way that means starving. We were poor in the way that means you learn very quickly that there is not enough of anything to go around. Not enough food, not enough space, not enough of your mother's attention. You learn to compete for what little there is. You learn to hold what you get. You learn that letting go of anything means losing it for good. I never stopped believing that. That was my mistake. Not the only one, but the one that cost me the most. I want to tell you something before I go any further. You are sitting where you are right now, listening to an old woman talk, and you think this does not apply to you. You think your anger is different. Your situation is different. What was done to you is worse. What you are holding on to is justified. I thought all of those things. I was wrong about every single one of them. I had a sister named Clara. She was 2 years younger than me, and she looked like our mother in a way I never did. She had dark hair that curled without any effort. She had a softness in her face that made men look at her. I was the older one, the capable one, the one who kept the household moving when our mother was sick, which was often. I rose before dawn. I kept the fire. I made sure there was something on the table. I was not bitter about that. That was simply how it was for older daughters in those years. You worked. You did not complain. What I was bitter about came later. His name was Edmund Hale. He came back from the war in 1865 with a quietness in him that I mistook for depth. Many women made that mistake after the war. Men came home changed, and we called it character, when half the time it was just damage. But Edmund had something else in him, too. He was gentle in a way that men in our county were not taught to be. He listened when you spoke. He looked at you when you were talking, not past you. I loved him before I knew I loved him, and Clara knew it. By the winter of 1866, Edmund Hale was calling on my sister and not on me. I was a woman in 1866. You did not make your feelings known about a man who had not made his feelings known first. You waited. You hoped. You prayed if you were given to that. I waited too long. They were married in the spring of 1867. I stood in the church in my best dress, a blue wool I had repaired twice at the hem. I smiled when I was supposed to smile, and inside of me something went cold that did not warm again for a very long time. I told myself I had forgiven them. I had not forgiven them. I had buried the anger somewhere I thought I would not have to look at it again. That is not forgiveness, that is storage. And stored anger does not stay where you put it. You have someone in your life you have not forgiven. Maybe it is a sister, maybe it is a parent, a husband, a friend who betrayed you, a child who disappointed you in ways you cannot say aloud. And you have told yourself that your decision not to forgive is a principled one, that you are protecting yourself, that forgiveness would be letting them win, that what they did was too serious, too deliberate, too unforgivable to release. I told myself all of those things. Those things may all be true. What they did may genuinely be serious. Your anger may be completely justified. I am not here to tell you that what was done to you was small. What I am telling you is that none of that matters in the end. None of it changes what anger does to the person who is carrying it. I kept my resentment of Clara for nearly 40 years. I kept it neatly. I kept it righteous. I polished it until it was bright and sharp, and I could take it out whenever I needed to feel justified in keeping my distance. And the whole time I was holding it, it was costing me something I could not see clearly until the very end. It cost me my sister. Not just the idea of her, not just the relationship. Clara herself. The girl who braided my hair before church when I was 7 years old. The one who whispered to me in the dark when we were both frightened by storms. The only other person alive who remembered what our mother's voice sounded like when she was not tired. I chose my anger over all of that, and I told myself I was strong for doing it. After Edmund died in 1889, Clara wrote to me, a short letter. She did not ask for much. She did not ask for my sympathy. She simply wrote that Edmund was gone and that she missed me. She wrote that she thought of me often. She asked how I was faring. I did not write back. I held that letter at the kitchen table. Robert was outside. It was October, cold enough to see your breath in the morning. I read it twice. I folded it face down, and I went back to whatever I had been doing before it arrived. I told myself I needed more time, that the hurt was still too fresh even after 20 years, that an accounting needed to come before anything else could. The accounting never came. I made sure of it by never opening a door for it. She wrote twice more over the following years. I did not respond. By the third letter she stopped. And when she stopped, I told myself I had simply declined to be hurt again. I told myself that was wisdom. It was not wisdom. It was cowardice dressed in the clothes of dignity. In 1901, I received a letter from Clara's daughter telling me that her mother was very ill, not expected to recover, that Clara had asked about me, had spoken of me. I did not go. I told myself the journey was difficult, but I had ridden through February mud to tend to neighbours I barely knew. I had travelled to funerals of people I felt nothing for out of simple duty. I could have gone to Clara. The distance was not the reason. Going would have meant giving something up. It would have meant releasing the story I had been telling myself for 30 years. I thought there would be more time. I thought she might recover. I thought there would be another chance to decide. There was not. Clara died in the autumn of 1901, and the anger did not go away when she died. I thought it would. I thought the chapter would close. Instead, the anger had nowhere left to go. There was no one left to be angry at. She was gone. Edmund had been gone for 12 years. I was still standing here holding all of it. Holding it with no place to put it, no possibility any more of resolution. That was when I understood what I had done. Not to them, to myself. You think your anger is about the other person. You think you are holding them accountable. You think that by keeping your distance, by refusing to soften, you are sending a message. You are making them understand the weight of what they did. You are not. They have moved on, or they have told themselves their own version of the story in which they are the wronged party. Either way, the anger is not touching them the way you want it to. It is only touching you. Every morning you wake up and feel that familiar weight. Every family gathering where you manage around them. Every year that passes where you could have had something different. That is not them suffering. That is you. They are going about their lives. You are the one carrying this. I carried it through a marriage that deserved better from me. I carried it through the raising of my children, 2 of whom felt the particular cold that comes from a mother who is partially absent, even when she is standing right in front of you. I carried it through every year that Clara and I could have been close again. Every year our children could have grown up knowing each other. And I sat beside her grave in 1901, with nothing left to give her, and nothing left to take back. Here is the thing nobody tells you about pride. Pride feels like protection, like you are finally drawing a line no one can cross, like you are standing up for yourself at last, after perhaps a life of not standing up for yourself. And there is a moment early on when that feeling is almost good. And then the years pass. The pride that felt like a wall turns out to be a door that has rusted shut. You cannot get out. They cannot get in. What you thought was a position of strength turns out to have been a trap you built for yourself. Pride will make you lonely and call it dignity. I watched women in my county carry grudges against sisters, against mothers, against children who had done something unforgivable, and go to their graves holding those things, calling themselves righteous until the end. What they left behind was not justice, it was silence. Funerals where the wrong things were said, or nothing was said because too much had been left unfixed for too long. I was one of those women. I do not want you to be. Robert Crane was a good man, steady, quiet, never raised his voice or his hand, which in those years put him well ahead of many. We were married 25 years. He was not Edmund Hale, but I do not blame Robert for that. What I blame myself for is this. I was never fully present for our marriage. I brought my anger in the way you carry mud on your boots. I was not cruel to Robert. I was simply never fully there. Part of me was still standing in that church in my blue dress, watching my sister walk to the front. After he died, I found a letter he had started and never sent. It said, among other things, that he wished I had trusted him more, that he had always wanted more from their life together than he knew how to ask for, that sometimes it felt like standing outside a house in winter, able to see the warmth inside but not quite invited in. A man who lived with me for 25 years described our marriage as standing outside in winter. I had told myself it was a good marriage. By the standards of those years, it was. No cruelty, no drunkenness. We managed well. We raised our children. By every public measure, it was a sufficient life. And he spent it standing outside, looking at a warmth I would not let him reach. You can protect yourself so thoroughly that you end up alone inside a house full of people. I did that. The loneliness I felt in my later years was not an accident. It was not something that happened to me. It was something I built. Stone by stone, year by year, one unanswered letter at a time. I built it methodically and called it strength. And by the time I was old enough to feel the full weight of it, I had built it so well that I could not find the door anymore. My children loved me the way children love a mother who has always been capable and somewhat out of reach. They came when there was work to be done, a decision to be made. They did not come to simply sit with me. They were not in the habit of that kind of closeness, because I was not in the habit of it either, and I had not taught them to be. Doing for people and being with people are not the same thing. I did not understand that until most of the people I should have been with were gone. When I was young, I watched women in our county harden after their losses, and I thought, that is strength. I thought the women who kept working after their children died, who kept moving after their husbands were gone, who never collapsed in front of anyone. I thought those women knew something the softer women did not. I understand now that some of them were simply not letting themselves feel what they felt. And the ones who never let themselves feel it never healed from it either. They carried it silently and called the carrying toughness. I called my carrying toughness for 40 years. It was armor I had forgotten I was wearing. And armor, after long enough, is just another kind of prison. You cannot be wounded inside it, but you cannot be touched inside it either. And a life where you cannot be touched is a very narrow life. I'm not telling you this to make you feel guilty. Guilt is a useless feeling once the moment for action has passed. I am telling you this because your moment has not passed yet. The person you need to reach out to is still alive. The letter you need to write can still be received. The journey you have been postponing can still be made. You have something I do not have, which is time. You do not know how much of it you have, but you have some, right now, today, and I am asking you not to waste it the way I wasted mine. Do not wait to be ready. Ready is a feeling that does not come the way you think it will. You do not wake up one morning and feel ready to forgive the person who hurt you most. You write the letter while you are still angry. You make the journey before you have resolved everything inside yourself. You do the thing imperfectly, messily, without having worked it all out first. Because the alternative is waiting until everything is perfectly resolved, and everything never becomes perfectly resolved, and so you never go. I never went. Clara was 61 years old when she died. She was not old. She died in the middle of her life, which is what death does. It does not wait for the right time. It does not check whether the right conversations have been had. It simply comes. And if you have not done the hard thing while you still could, you do not get to do it afterward. I understood that completely when I stood at her grave, and there was simply nothing left to do with the understanding. That is the cruelest part. You think that if you ever understand what you have done, you will have the chance to fix it. Sometimes you understand completely, and there is nothing left to fix. Here is what I know now. Anger does not stay where you put it. It moves through you. It changes you. It gets into your marriage and your children and your ordinary days. It gets into the way you hold yourself back from people who deserve better. You think you are containing it. You are not. You are becoming it. Pride does not protect you. It gives you a better story to tell yourself while you are losing the things that matter most. I thought I was strong. I was just far away from the people I loved. I thought I was protecting myself. I was building a life I would have to live alone. I thought I had time. I did not have time. I never went to see my sister. She died without me. And I am still here. And that is the hardest thing I have ever tried to explain. Not that she is gone, that I let her go on purpose. And I cannot take it back. And neither will you be able to if you wait as long as I did. So do not wait. Go now, while you still can.